KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack!
It just doesn't have the same effect.
I know, you need that stereo resonance.
Chris
you know?
Kelso's not here today, and so it's Joe and I this morning.
Howling in your right ear only.
Yes. that's just in stereo. Anyway, today, we always like to do things, shout-outs about charity events going on, and, of course, today...
Mainly because we are charity cases ourselves.
We are charity cases. And out in Bay Area Boulevard today, we are going to have an event for the Sunshine Kids. Of course, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Anderson Properties is a big supporter of it. Nationally, Berkshire Hathaway is a big supporter of it. And I believe that we have Diane Morellis on the line there. Are you there, Diane?
I'm here.
Well, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm just dandy, thank you.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about the event today.
It's going to run from 11 to 6 o'clock this evening. We have live music, lots and lots of prizes.
What are we giving away today?
Oh, my gosh, there is so much. There's little freebie gifts from Wells Fargo, from freebies to logo stuff from some of the distributors, the alcohol distributors. We've got chalkboards and Jägermeister shakers and crystal glasses, and that's just the prizes. We're also having a silent auction with memorabilia, football memorabilia, basketball memorabilia, lots of baskets. We've got lots and lots of bling for the ladies, and balloons and glitter tattoos and some games for the kids. We're also doing a cornhole toss tournament, a 50-50 draw, and we've got a couple of other raffle items for a huge stuffed pony and another a fire pit stuffed with everything that you need to make it go.
Wow, this event. Now, tell everyone where it is.
Okay, it is at 463 Bay Area Boulevard, just in the heart of Clear Lake. And free hot dogs for the kids, by the way.
Oh, well, okay, Joe, you might be able to qualify. You could probably pass off.
I am on it. I look young.
Now that's at Wolfie's, is that correct?
At Wolfie's, yes. It's going to be in the parking lot at Wolfie's, actually in the front parking lot, and then it's going to wrap around to the backside.
So
the band's going to be outside, and all the vendors will be outside. Silent auction will be inside, and all the raffle tickets will be inside. We're also bringing in the Sunshine Kids Harley, and we're going to auction that off as well.
There was an amazing story about that Harley. We auctioned it off before. One of our agents won it and donated it back.
Wow.
So
I wouldn't have done that.
Don't ever admit that.
Wait a minute. Are we on air?
Yeah. This person was so generous. He stood up in our meeting.
That's amazing. That's really awesome.
And he stood up in the meeting and said, you know what, he and his family will match any amount that our agents donate.
Wow.
Up to $40,000. So we have some amazing agents that are involved with the Sunshine Kids. And of course, the Real Estate Rat Pack is also a small sponsor of there. And I will be down there right after the show.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. You're going to have a really good time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crawfish available. All you can eat crawfish, is that right?
All you can eat crawfish. They ordered 12,000 pounds of crawfish.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Oh, my.
We're ready.
And what's the cost to get in?
That's a big crawfish.
That's a lot.
That's
a big one. That's a big one.
Respect the narrative here.
Exactly. $25 to get in, all you can eat crawfish.
That's a great price. Again, that's the Sunshine Kids event down at 463 Barrier Boulevard. That's in Wolfie's parking lot.
Yes.
We're talking to Diane Morellis, who is with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Anderson Properties. And Diane, I will be down there probably around 10:45, 11 o'clock.
Fabulous.
So look forward to seeing
and
it.
If you don't eat crawfish, you can still come on. There's no cost to getting entry. You can just come and enjoy everything and order from the menu if you want.
I'm eating crawfish, by gosh.
Good for you.
So anyway,
they make some of the best in town, from what I hear.
Any parting words before we let you go?
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We always love having the cherries on.
Absolutely. And Diane's a great person, and she's put a lot of time and effort in putting this together. It takes a lot to put these events
Heck
together.
yeah, it does.
And we've all been involved with doing events, and so we kind of understand and appreciate it, and love to get the word out. So, Joe, we have a recurring theme today.
We have a reoccurring theme. We do the show once every few months, and we always have a good response to it. Our show is always about as much fun as we like to have and as silly as we are.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Yeah. We like to make sure that we provide good information to the listeners out there. And today our theme is What You Don't Know Can Hurt You. And we've got a couple guest experts on today that are going to be phenomenal. We wanted to make sure we had enough time to really delve into each of their areas.
One's a returning guest. We've had Jason Jimenez on multiple times, and he always comes in and enlightens us.
Absolutely.
Insurance is not one of those glamorous things people like to talk about, but it's things that you need to know.
And it's one of those things that, if you don't know, can definitely hurt you.
That is so true.
You want to make sure. I mean, I've had horror stories, friends close to me with just not having the right type of coverage when storms came through and just financially wipe them out.
Absolutely. And I always like to say, the big print giveth and the small print taketh away.
That is quite true.
and Jason's laughing because he's got a good sense of humor about it, and he understands. But he's actually excellent about explaining to his customers, clients about this is what it means and things like that. So we're really interested in talking with him. And also today we have Bruce Brenner on, and I had the privilege of listening to Bruce do a presentation for about an hour about identity theft, fraud, and those types of things. So Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much.
So kind of talk about how you got in the business. Tell people what you do, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay, super. My background is from the payments industry, the electronic payments industry and financial services. So in that world, of course, you're always dealing with potential loss and risk and identity theft and having to verify identities because there's always repercussions if you don't do it. Someone always is going to lose money. There's legal ramifications. And then we started teaching courses on preventing identity theft and information security and understanding what you need to know, what kinds of information needs to be protected. And so many of us don't realize just how devastating the effects of identity theft can be. Everywhere you look, and I always say that technology, we're blessed with it and we're cursed with it. There's always a dark side to all this technology out there. What do we teach our kids about information security? We don't teach them anything. They leave their credit cards out. They leave their driver license out. They leave a check out. They throw things in the trash away with account numbers and information and social security numbers. They don't understand it. And, we grew up in a different world than we have today. And unfortunately, the crime of identity theft has such an impact on a victim's life.
Huge.
It's without measure. You could leave your wallet out on a table with money, and losing that money is the least of your worries. It's that information in there, because once someone gets your information, it can be bought, sold, transferred, copied, redistributed.
Now,
thousands of
if
times.
I recollect, you were talking about there's actually websites out there that they are actually auctioning off people's, they steal these masses of credit cards and they auction them off to the world.
Absolutely. In fact, 60 Minutes did a special not long ago, it was a few years back, and Sean Henry, who was at the time the FBI's leading cyber threat expert, was interviewed by Leslie Stahl. And he gets online and shows her just how easy it is to get into an online illegal underground chat room where he can buy and sell full identities, just like it's eBay, and without the fear of getting caught. So he gets online, gets into one of these underground illegal chat rooms, and most of the time the people on the other end are well beyond the reach of the U.S. government. They're in countries that don't have any extradition treaties. He's bidding on this information. He puts in $100. He gets 4 full identities, and the information that comes back is actually staggering. Gets back full identities, name, address, phone number, bank account number, verified by Visa number, credit cards, driver's license, and even mother's maiden name and PIN numbers. The things that we all think, well, no one is going to guess this. No one is going to get that. And there it is right there on the screen in less than 2.5 minutes. And
That's scary.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
It's really, we don't hear much about it, And I think I'm always somewhat of a conspiracy guy, but
just aliens.
Yeah, just a little though. Not I don't go full blown on
That's
it.
only because the government's gotten in your head and altered your thinking.
Well, of course. It's a bigger industry than the drug trafficking industry.
It has,
financially speaking.
It
right?
really is.
Yet there's no war on identity theft. There's no massive government programs and that sort of thing about it. And I think a good reason for that is because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you made, that according to the U.S. Secret Service, since 2007, drug trafficking has taken a back seat to the compromise of data security, trafficking and identities. And the thing about it is, if you think about it, if the bad guys are trying to get across the border with a big load of drugs, right? There's a lot of barriers to doing that, and the chance of getting caught
physical product
and some risk.
Right.
There's a physical product.
That's right. Now, you can take a USB thumb drive and put thousands of records, in fact, millions of records on that, and nobody knows the difference.
Yeah.
And getting caught, according to the FBI, less than 1 in 700 identity thieves are going to get caught, so the odds are in your favor. And the penalties are nowhere near as stringent as they are with drugs, and it's harder to prove the crime.
The average, I get a lot of this, but we get it from different sides. We get the folks after it's already happened to them. So we're dealing with the fallout, the repercussions of identity theft all the time. So I'm real familiar about the subject from the other side, and it's unbelievable. Last week we did a show, and one of our guests on the show after the show wanted to talk to me because they're a victim of identity theft.
Wow.
And it's been an ongoing thing for years. The average prison term, the average sentence for an identity theft is 18 months.
Oh my.
18 months.
18 months.
That's nothing.
That's all?
I mean, exactly. That's it. Whereas you look at the average person that's caught drug trafficking or whatever else is a significantly more penalty.
Well, I'll tell you something that's really interesting and really causes you to stop in your tracks. I was watching a show a few months back, and Saturday morning, about how all the medical experts here in Houston, we have some of the finest medical care there is in the world.
Yeah. And
a cardiologist was talking about heart disease. A lot of it's preventable, and if I remember the statistics, it's someone every 20 some odd seconds dies from heart disease, and most of it's preventable. Now, there's a new victim of identity theft in the U.S. alone every 3 seconds of every day. That's over 30,000 times. Every day there's a new victim. And that's just what we know about.
Yeah.
Since 2005, there's been over 650 million Americans that have reported their identities lost or stolen. Last year, you had over 400,000 dead people open up bank accounts
and vote.
And vote, but and vote. That's right. That was good. That was good. The scary thing about that is when you realize how they do it. When your grandparents or parents are there at MD Anderson getting end of life treatment, the bad guys know they're not going to be paying attention to their bank statements or their credit card statements, and that's when they're stealing their information.
Oh my!
Well, you know what? And we're coming up on a break here in 2 minutes, but we luckily we only have two guys today to talk to.
We've got a lot of information to cover
because there's a lot of stuff we need to cover on this subject with both your industries. One of the things that most people are unaware of is that when they think of identity theft, they think of only one type of identity theft, and that's that they steal credit cards. And they use your credit. And that's what I get on my side, and that's what we see most often. But there are multiple forms of identity theft, and one of those is sitting in the room. It's insurance. They steal health insurance. They steal that type of identity. You think about the massive cost of medical insurance. If somebody can steal a perfectly good insurance ID and use that for health insurance, then that's there again potential thousands of dollars in expense there.
That's right, and I did a presentation at WCR a while back. I think it was
that's Women's Council of Realtors.
That's right. And an insurance agent stood up and she said that health insurance fraud, medical insurance fraud, identity theft is rampant in Harris County.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the hottest places for.
Well, we have the best medical. That's why.
Well, that's right.
You're going to do
That's right. You know, you can't have one
You might as
without
well
the
get
other.
the best, right?
That's right. You might as well get the best. That's right. The
Absolutely.
I hear the music, Joe.
We hear the music. You know, we've got a break to come up, and we want to make sure our sponsors, one of who is in the room, so we really want to make sure that we get to hear his commercial today. So we got to take care of our sponsors. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors, and we'll continue this awesome conversation.
Fever in the morning.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Yes, we're as always. We're just carrying on our own conversations, and there's a show to do. The producer points at you, and you're like, I have to talk. What are we doing again? So we are having a phenomenal conversation. This is, hey, it's in my wheelhouse here. So I get easily passionate about this subject, but it impacts so many different areas of your life that you don't even realize. We're talking about ID theft. We've got some expertise in the house on that. So, if you're out there listening, you want to call in and ask some questions, it's definitely a great opportunity. 800-808-5548. That's the number here in the studio, 800-808-5548. But while we were off air, we were talking. We've got Jason Jimenez from the Jimenez Insurance Agency, and one of our awesome sponsors, absolutely an expert in his field, which is why we have them on. And
we only have experts.
And we were talking about how that identity theft touches more than just credit. People, that's their first reaction, is to think about credit identity theft, but that's just one area of many areas. And you were commenting on your side some issues that you've seen in the insurance side. Touch on a little bit what we were talking about in break.
One thing that it's not necessarily the best part of my job, but I'm typically asked to be in court at least once a quarter, because either a client or someone, or as an expert witness, to be able to go and talk about a transaction in relation to identity theft. I mean, the industry has gotten so big within the last 10 years that nowadays you have insurance companies now adding identity theft coverage within their home insurance policy. It's limited, and yet the fact that a $1 billion industry is actually going in there and adding that to your home insurance,
amazing.
You have to think about that.
No doubt.
So it's really scary. And then, as a matter of fact, even on the corporate side, businesses, whether it be a real estate firm, insurance firm, anyone who deals with Social Security numbers, date of birth, or anything that's private, from even medical insurance. We were just talking about off the air about copy machines. Your copy machine at home or at the office has a hard drive. You scan things.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we talked about it, and it was one of those things that you don't really necessarily think about that stuff. And that's the scary part. And nowadays there's processes and procedures. Even at my office, anybody who has, we deal with Social Security numbers, we deal with driver's license numbers, we deal with a lot of stuff. There is a process there, because if there isn't, then quite frankly, you know what? We don't know who we're going to affect, because we don't know where that information goes out to.
And the scary thing about it is, I talk to title companies, real estate companies, mortgage brokers all the time, and people don't realize that, of course, those big copy machines have the big hard drives too. And what kind of information do we copy? The stuff that's not important, or the stuff that's really personal? The very important stuff.
We copy all of it for one thing, but the thing is, we try to keep our agents out of the taking credit applications and things of that, and if they do, to redact all the Social Security numbers, don't copy it under the SAFE Act. You're kind of required to do a lot of things to make sure that information doesn't give out. But you get someone's Social Security number, you've got power.
We know, Rob, I always tell people, if you see information laying out, an application or a check, or how many times have you gone into the doctor's office and somebody else's driver's license, a full-blown copy of their driver's license is sitting right there in front of you. You've never met them before. Maybe a copy of their Social Security card is there, or an insurance card. It's all over the place. And you have files and files and files in the doctor's office, and they're not locked, they're not protected, they're within anybody's reach. So information is available. Recently, Michael's had that breach, 2.5-3 million people. So they just happened. Target, and it just keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting worse.
I actually had a situation where 2 weeks ago, I have a bank account with a particular bank, And I had a call twice in 1 week of a company speaking Spanish, would refuse to speak any English, and asking my staff to verify if this was the correct routing number and checking account number because they wanted to send checks, and they were representing the bank. I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Really?
Yeah.
Let me fact you avoided one.
Yeah. I'll send that right over.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times they call somebody that's an administration person. They just want to be compliant. They want to be helpful, things like that. And they go, "Oh, okay, I'll get that for you." So,
Yeah.
I guess the question we're coming. We're hearing this happen a lot. And Jason, you're probably running up against some fraud now too.
All the time.
And what do you do to prevent it?
Okay. So you still have to have a life, right? You don't want to be left in a
I'd
position
like to.
of fear, but the reality is that this world is very dangerous. From a capacity where it comes to insurance, it's all about education. It really boils down to being able to be educated.
Absolutely.
And around that capacity, it goes based on the principle. Even our office is, you're not a good client for us if you're not willing to sit down with one of our agents at least once a year, because I've said it before on the show. You're not the same person you were a year ago. Something changed. You either had somebody pass away, you had somebody newborn, you lost your job, you got a raise, whatever. All that information is that stuff of information of your life story that we need to be able to get. And within that, our office staff, our agents will sit there, be able to guide you in relations to what you can do, what you shouldn't do. And then, quite frankly, if something happens, what you need to do. So those are the facts. Some of them may be something as simple as being able to work with an individual like yourself to be able to work and understand exactly what are my rights.
Right. And it is all about education and understanding what it is that you need to protect and how you protect it. And unfortunately, in this world, even if you have a monitoring system in place, even if you shred your bills in the backyard and burn your mail,
You can still be hit.
That's right. We're never completely safe, and here's why. Think of all the places that have information the last 20, 30, 40 years on all of us: Social Security Administration, military, doctors' offices.
Your info is everywhere.
Your info is everywhere.
We have a caller on the line. Sherilyn, that's calling in. She's got a question, so we're going to go to the call. Sherilyn, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You have a question about your credit report?
Yes, I do. I was just trying to figure out why there are 3 addresses associated with me that I have no idea where these addresses are. I've never lived there, and it's on my credit report.
A number of reasons. There a lot of times people have names that are similar to each other out there with the credit, and also this could be an indicator that you could be the victim of identity theft. And you want to look into this right away. Have you looked at all 4 credit reports? You've got TransUnion, you've got Equifax, Experian, and you've also have CoreLogic, which is more recently named as the Big 4. And have you checked all those reports?
I haven't checked all of them, no.
I would.
Yeah. We're both sitting here saying the same thing. Yeah, nodding our heads. Yes. One of the first things you definitely want to do, that the different addresses can be, as he first mentioned, a mixed file, a similar name pulling up with your address. A mixed file is fairly common. It does happen, kind of normally. But it's also one of those red flag things that you want to make certain there's not other more serious things going on. If it's just different addresses showing up under your name, that's a non-issue. It's not going to affect your scores or that type of thing. You'll be all right. However, if it's an indication that someone else has been playing with your credit file, it could be just the beginning of a big can of worms. So you definitely want to get on to a monitoring service or a monitoring site to where you can pull the credit bureaus to see what else is showing up and just verify or check that nothing's out of line. Okay, I appreciate that. Now, the other thing is that each credit report has their own way of reporting. I thought I had maybe a mid 600 score, but when my son and I went to get a car for him, our credit score was like under 600, and I'm like, how'd that happen?
Everybody uses the FICOs.
And there's a whole other can of worms. One of the first things that the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, wrote about after they became a big governmental agency was the confusion on all of the different credit scores out there. when a lender pulls your scores, they typically will use a FICO score, the Fair Isaacs Corporation, and their scoring model. When you pull your score online, you pull a consumer report. It doesn't hit you as an inquiry, but it also uses different scoring models, so you see different scores. To further complicate the matter, whenever you go to a particular lender, like an auto lender, they will often run their own scoring model that is weighted more heavily based on what you're applying for. So based on your car payment history, for this instance, it may alter your score up or down. So, which makes complete sense on the lender side and confuses the heck out of you as the consumer.
Exactly.
So, I would definitely recommend speaking to a credit consultant, a credit expert. My company has Improved My Credit USA. And shameless plug, we've been the consumer voted #1 credit repair company for the last 4 years in Texas.
You'll do a free assessment.
And we will absolutely do a free assessment. I've got guys that are in the office today, so you can actually call them and get a complimentary consultation. And we have a weekend number that you can call that I'm desperately searching for here.
He is desperately searching for it. I can vouch for that.
I never remember the weekend number.
Don't try this at home, folks.
Don't
We
try
are
this at home.
professionals.
Yeah.
713-936-0589. That is our weekend telephone number, so you can reach a live consultant. They will do a complimentary review of your situation. And if you have been compromised with identity theft, they can, whether you use us or not, we can point you in the right direction to deal with the fallout.
Okay, one more time with that number, please.
Absolutely. It's 713-936-0589.
Thank you.
Tell them Joe sent you.
You should have that on the wall in big.
Right.
There,
Thanks.
You bet. You know, something I wanted to get into, and I know we're coming up against the bottom of the hour hard break again, but when we come back, you know, the call that we had there, that's so common. I get that on our side all the time.
Right.
You the first little blip that hits your radar of something fishy going on, and unfortunately, a lot of times that is just the icing on the cake.
It's a tester.
There's a lot of stuff going on underneath. So that's on my side, dealing with the fallout.
Right.
When we come back from the break, let's talk about, you know, what both of you guys specialize in, is that an ounce of a prevention
is worth pounds of cure.
pounds of cure. So, you know, the show is what you don't know can hurt you. So when we come back, let's touch on those for both of you guys. I know that's some important stuff.
Another thing we want to touch on too is the different types of identity theft.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we've got the music playing. That means we're up against the break.
But we'll be right back.
But we're not going to sing.
Right. We got to make the sponsors happy, so we will be right back.
The girl in the world is smiling 'cause she's in love with the man in the moon.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
Yeah.
Back on the air, Joe.
We're back. We're back.
I always thought we.
Oh my gosh!
we got to record the between the break show.
Made up our act.
Is a show in itself.
Well, we're all geeking out over here. You know. When you get some folks in the room who are passionate about a subject and we share commonalities in it, we're just all going away here at what's cool.
You know, we've got so much stuff to cover here. I
do.
want to kind of go back over to Jason and ask about, you know, you're talking about some insurance that can cover these types of losses. Can you kind of delve into that a little bit? Is that something that you do, or?
So there are several companies out there, usually the major companies. They've not only included on their homeowners insurance policies identity theft coverage. It's usually between $25,000, $35,000, $50,000. It just kind of depends upon what the client's wanting to do. You see it more now on the commercial end. There's called cyber identity, cyber theft. So it may be the aspect that somebody steals or something that somebody steals your information, but because of that information, it affects your clientele. So in that aspect, there are things like Kroll, companies you can go out there and get remedied for that. And yet at the same time, be always aware that information, you would want to be able to create a process of saying, okay, who has my information? Write it down, save it in a secured location to where you're able to go back to it and say, okay, I need to reset all of this. Because the reality is, you don't know. I mean, technology and there's brilliant minds out there that are for the good, but there's just as many for the bad.
That's right. Yeah.
So, you said it was a limited policy that people can get, and for the consumer, what would that look like? Was some sort of deductible, some sort of limit?
No,
like
no
that,
deductible. It's not a deductible situation.
Wow, that's good.
So it's just pretty much, if a situation happens, as long as the policy has that on the coverage, then you basically do the filing on there. And yet, it's not there to replace everything. It's there to basically to give you some comfort in relation to that. Now, mind you, the insurance industry, this has been around for about 4 or 5 years. So they are still learning. So they're working with companies like yourself to be able to go and get that information and get updated, because it is always changing. And let me put it this way, you replace a computer, every 4 or 5 years? Mm-hmm. That's technology. It grows that fast. So they're always having to keep up.
That's right. Well, that's kind of a segue into something that we're kind of talking about in the break. That everything has a hard drive, that, a lot of people do just toss their computers out.
They do.
That's a big no-no.
And even if you've wiped out the memory, there's a residual amount of ghost images and things like that. Because you can go to a
It's worth it to pull that hard drive out and
destroy it.
Just destroy it.
Open it up and tear that
Beat it with a rock.
Get out some tension.
We take it out target practice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there
that's
you
right.
go.
Channel 2.
I see a new business here.
Yeah.
I do. That's right.
Channel 2, as a matter of fact, has multiple times has had a drive, if you will. You can stop by, drop it off.
A drive?
Yeah.
A drive.
There you go.
That's right.
Well, you're able to drop off your computers, and they will make sure and ensure that they wipe out that, whatever's private, if you will, before they go and shred it and things of that nature. So there's areas around town that can provide that service.
One thing we were talking about on the break, and I definitely want to make sure we mention it and remember it, is the cell phone.
Yeah.
Everything, your life is on those things.
And I always tell people, what kind of information we keep in our cell phones? You have account numbers, passwords, private information. Most people say yes. And then if you sit back for a minute, does it really have to be on there? And here's another question. Ask yourself. Is it possible that one of these cell phones or laptops or iPads get lost or stolen? Happens all the time. Just from U.S. airports alone, we lose 8 mobile devices every 50 seconds, every 50 seconds. And, think about bus stations, bars, restaurants, clubs. Phones get missing all the time, and people can get your information right away. I went into, and I don't want to mention the name of the retailer to protect the names of I wouldn't say the innocent, but the neglectful. I went into a major retailer, got a cell phone. I was due for an upgrade a couple years ago. And I had walked in on a Saturday night, 8 o'clock, and I gave them my mobile number. No money was due because it was one of those free upgrades. I walked out in 10 minutes with that new phone. I didn't show an ID, I didn't show a check, and I didn't use a credit card. So help me God. When I walked out of there, is one of these new Google phones. So the kind of information that it updated, it had some AOL stuff on it that I hadn't seen in 5 years. And I looked at it, I thought, man, this is just cool. And then I stopped in my tracks. I thought, wait, this isn't so cool. And I thought to myself, what just happened? What just happened to me?
And since all your contacts, and a lot of information is in the cloud with Google.
Yeah.
Which is the nice thing about Google, because you change phones, you have to worry about transferring contacts.
Right, and nothing is secure, is absolutely safe, because remember, all these things are man-made. And no matter what, there's nothing that is completely impervious and safe out there.
Let's talk about some prescriptive things that we can do to help
absolutely.
prevent that.
I was just going to say one thing that on that note, the prescriptive side, we want to make sure we give some folks some takeaways today, some things that they can do to prevent themselves from being hurt. So both of you guys be thinking about that. But on the cell phone thing, I had a tablet stolen a while back, a good while back.
I'll bring it back, Joe. I've been playing Candy Crush on it. It's okay.
And that motivated me to begin the search for a good product to lock it down and to locate it, because they all have the GPS stuff on them and all that sort of thing. So here is a fantastic application that you can download. You can install it on up to 3 devices. You create an account so that you can log into it and track those devices. for free. It's a program called Prey, P-R-E-Y, P-R-E-Y. It will actually, if you turn it on, it will lock the device, wait for first use, so that when the person opens the screen or opens the laptop or that type of thing, it will engage the camera, take a picture. If you have the GPS enabled, it will give you a GPS location, and then completely lock the device to where you can't get into it, and it becomes a useless device, and a little siren will start going, wee, with the return this device thing on the cover. It's a fantastic program. Prey.
Well, that sounds like good
Highly
stuff.
recommend it.
We have a caller on the line.
We've got a couple of calls coming in.
Name looks familiar. It's a Chris Kelso.
It says he's calling from the Harris County Jail.
Correct? I don't have enough cash for bail money today. I'm sorry.
Hey, that is a dirty little secret, guys.
Oh, was I
it's a
not
volunteer show.
Of course, this is our own Chris Kelso, who could not be with us today. So thank you for calling in, Chris. Did you have a question or comment?
Great subject. I actually got a comment. One of the things, speaking about identity theft, that I am getting more and more of, and that we see this all the time, and it's something I always want our listeners to know, is I have a lot of clients that come into my office, and one of their questions isn't necessarily about rates or what I need in the rest of the paperwork. It's, how do you handle disposing my personal information? How do you handle that aspect? Where does it get stored? How do you dispose of it? What security measures do you have around it? And I'm seeing more and more of that, which I think is a great thing to approach a lot of companies with. If you're out there, if you're in a real estate transaction, if, you talk about those questions that people want to ask about, qualifying their lender or qualifying their real estate company, it's a great question to ask. And I think as identity theft is becoming more prevalent and people are becoming more aware of it, that's one of the major factors that people are starting to look at.
Yeah. And when these things happen, usually it's to the tune of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of records. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
And I think every major company has a system in place for like redacting, sensitive information or securing it in some fashion. It's the smaller companies that I'm concerned about that don't have policies in place. And they're leaving applications with social security numbers sitting there, and those are the ones that I think I'm concerned about.
Well, I think one important thing would be is if you are going to give your social security, your date of birth, your driver's license out, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it be a insurance firm or just anybody for that matter. Ask them, what's your process once I give you this, to make sure that it's not going to be just put around on a kitchen counter and somebody goes and takes it away.
That's a great point. And the biggest Achilles heel here is it's the human element that brings them down every time. We can have the best systems in the world, the best software, the best checks and balances to get in electronically, but it's the human element that brings you down.
Absolutely.
And that's why regularly scheduled training, it's part of the Federal Trade Commission's guidelines. It's part of the ISG, which is the Information Security Guidelines that are published by NAR. That's required, regular scheduled training of everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a full-time employee or independent or a volunteer worker. If you have access to the information, you've got to be trained. You've got to have a policy in place.
Such a great point. We have a caller on.
Yeah, Chris, are you good? You're certainly welcome to hang.
I am all good. You guys are doing great. I will catch y'all next week. In the meantime, Rob, when you finish up, it's downtown. It's the Harris County Jail.
I'm going on to that Sunshine Kids event. I'm sorry. You're going to have to languish for a while.
I'll have my mom get you out with her bonding company, Chris.
There you go.
Hey, that sounds great. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Chris. And we got Teresa on the line.
We have a Teresa on the line. We want to make sure we jump to the call here. Teresa, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, boys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is this the Teresa, the one and only Teresa?
Teresa Kennedy from the Woodlands.
You got it, kids. This is me hiding in my bedroom, kid-free right now.
And I think that this is an appropriate time to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you. Are
Happy
you guys
birthday.
coming? Am I going to see
I will be there tonight. I'm driving out to the Woodlands. I'm bringing my sleeping bag.
Hey, I have a big game room.
Okay,
so if
good.
you don't mind, like three rambunctious boys, you are more than welcome.
No problem.
To hang out and sleep on my couch upstairs.
Looking forward to it. So, did you have some information about what we're talking about?
Well, I actually have a question in regards to identity theft, and especially with the cell phone, because what I heard now is you've got to be really careful with your cell phone. I know, like, now you can do online banking from your cell and all this other stuff, and that there are a lot of these I don't know what you call them, but they hang out at like Starbucks and they can connect to your phone and grab your information.
You're watching that
And,
commercial.
My IT guy who for my company specifically said that you have to be careful if you're on the open Wi-Fi.
Yes.
It's at the end of the day.
So that's my question is like, how do we prevent that? Because I know that I'm always buying stuff now online on my cell phone, and so that's kind of scary to know that people can get your personal information that easy.
Well, there's. Go ahead, Jason.
What I was going to say is
we're down to 1 minute, by the way.
I was going to tell you exactly what my IT company tells me. It's not an issue of doing the Wi-Fi when you're in Starbucks, as long as you're very aware that if it's information you don't want to be seen, don't be doing it.
Right.
That's really goes back to that scenario. Other than that, I mean, if you're just looking up Yahoo or whatever, that's different.
Right.
But
here's
the safest thing is if
go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you.
No, it's go ahead.
Yeah, one of the great idea. A lot of people have their portable hotspots these days. Their phone turns into a hotspot, and that is secured. So if you can do that, and
yes,
I know it's nice to use it free when you're at Starbucks or something, but if you can do that, you're
that was exactly what I was going to say. That here's a simple rule of thumb is that for internet browsing, just your typical internet usage, the shared Wi-Fi or the public Wi-Fi is perfectly fine. If you want to do any kind of secure transaction, banking, that type of thing, turn off the Wi-Fi and go back to your cell signal.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yes, because I do have hotspot on my cell phone.
There you go.
Well, that's really great information. I did not know that. And my son is totally got the biggest smile on his face because he can hear me on the radio.
Well, don't forget to call in.
Cool.
You should see.
We're smiling too, but you can't see us.
Don't forget to text in the thought of the day. Or
I did.
I've got it.
Okay.
Facebook, yep.
Very good.
And it's actually very cool because it just fits kind of what you guys,
Fits the subject.
Yeah, fits the subject.
Well, we're
Love
up
you
against.
guys, and I'll see y'all later.
Love you, and we're up against the break, so we will be right back.
Fancy gloves, though, where's old Maggie Heath, babe? So there's never a trace of red.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Yeah, we were talking about a hot subject today. We've got calls coming in. We had a great call from the lovely Teresa Kennedy. Happy birthday, Miss Kennedy, because I know she's still listening, and Rob and I will very likely be out. He's going for sure.
I'm going for sure.
Yeah, my wife has a
He's
laundry.
already there, right?
Yeah, my wife has a laundry list of things for me to do today that I've got to knock out before I get to go play.
Including laundry.
Right, including
Well,
laundry.
you're the best dressed
We
here,
touched
right?
on a subject that's interesting. This is the real estate show, but you know what? This is one of the biggest pieces of real estate is credit, and then of course one of the big things about credit is protecting your credit.
Absolutely.
And talk about identity theft, and so on the break we were talking about there are companies out there advertising about how to protect you from having identity theft. So let's kind of approach that subject, and what do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, that's good. There are a number of companies out there and one of the best ways to protect yourself is through routine monitoring. And obviously, according to Federal Trade Commission, you can get a free credit report from the major providers once every year, but that's really not enough to protect yourself. Have ongoing monitoring. And what happens with one of the ones that are most effective, which is Kroll out there, is once you have this monitoring service and they send you a notification that something pops up, and you let that investigator know that doesn't belong to you, something suspicious is there. The difference with them versus the others is they're experts. They're the ones that will go out and proactively put you back to who you were before the event. Instead of telling you, here's a stack of stuff and here's all the agencies you need to contact, they do it in your behalf.
So someone like Sherilyn, who had called in earlier, she would go call Kroll because she saw something suspicious on her report, and then they would
if she had engaged their service,
right.
that
if
would
she
be
had engaged their service, then then the experts do it in your behalf.
And how do you spell Kroll?
Kroll.
Okay.
Are they the but we had talked about beforehand there's a particular service. Do you have something that you can reference?
I do, and what we do is we're partnered up with Legal Shield and Kroll, and now they're really under one roof. So you've got the legal side and Kroll, and for a real small monthly fee, all of these things are protected. You've got a variety of legal services, and call in with any legal questions that you have, and then you have the experts at Kroll, and If they want a website, I can give them a web address.
Please do.
Okay, it's safenextdoor.com, and that's SAFENEXTDOOR.com. And there's information, and it'll tell about Kroll, what they do, and Legal Shield.
Absolutely. And it's no coincidence when we were talking on the break, and we were talking about, hey, this is, what you don't know can hurt you, and let's give them stuff that they can prevent. It's no surprise that he specializes in identity theft. We deal with it on Fallout side all the time, but we consequently we both recommend the same company. That wasn't a planned thing. It's just what happens when you get expertise in the room.
Them an invoice, by the
hey,
way.
what are you accusing me of expertise?
Yeah, when you get expertise in the room, it's you start seeing common themes. And we also, as Improve My Credit USA, we also recommend the Legal Shield product for identity theft. It's hands down, it is the best product on the market.
Jason, you had some insight down there.
Yeah, I do, because I've been a Legal Shield client and supporter for a very long time. And then one of the things that most people don't know is the fact that, and I was just confirming it, but when you get an account, you also get the capacity to get a will.
Yeah.
You can't imagine of how many clients that come across our insurance firm to be able to go and educate them about what they have, what they don't have. And then when we're talking about life insurance, for example, we'll flat out say, do you have a will in place? Well, some say, well, I don't have anything to there. It doesn't matter, because the reality is your child below the age of 18? Then guess what? If you or your spouse happen to be deceased at the same time, who's going to take care of your child? The state will go in there and do that. Legal Shield has the capacity to be able to go in there and provide you at least a basic will to determine and provide you protection along the way of all the additional services from.
Yeah, and in fact, they'll even update, and if you have an existing will, they'll even update it for you.
Yep.
Annual updates, and do one for your spouse as well.
Absolutely.
Well,
You got the link.
That's a big issue, because you said a lot of dead people.
Yeah,
are
that's
showing up
on
with new
Safe
credit
Next
cards.
Door.
Yeah.
SafeNextDoor.com. You can get some information there. We have some on our site as well, Improve My Credit USA, so any of those you remember.
Simple things that people can do. And we talked about the gas stations. We talk about not using your PIN. I've got a debit card and things like that.
Yeah, Rob, it's like being out there in the ocean and you have a cut on your leg and you're bleeding and everybody's trying to bite you. You go into gas stations, you go into ATMs somewhere, and sometimes there are these skimming devices on there that are designed to extract that magnetic strip information out of track 1, 2, and 3, and you'll never know it. Or sometimes there are hidden cameras, or they're watching you from a long way away with a zoom lens, and they watch the numbers you type in. There's other methods also, recording the sound. Each one of those keys on there has a different sound, and that technology has been out there for years. And unfortunately, it is so hard to fight these things. It's better to use the credit card in that situation than it is the debit card. Yeah. It really is. I always tell people, only take the cards with you you're going to use. Leave the rest at home, because if something happens or your wallet gets stolen or gets lost, the thieves have just so much that they can take from you. And another important thing here is passwords. When you're setting passwords online, your Facebook and your bank and this and other accounts, use different passwords for each and change them up every few months, because if one account is compromised, if you've got the same password for everything, you could suffer massive losses. And don't use something that's predictable. Don't use your dog's name and your birthday. Use something that someone's not going to guess right off the bat.
Right. I was going to say there's one going around now. A virus right now is heartbeat or something like that. It's actually integrating.
It affected. I know which one you're talking about.
It's actually affecting a lot of major websites.
First of all, a bank. A financial institution will never, ever contact you through email asking you to update your passwords. They don't do that.
That just happened to me.
So don't fall for that one. Remember that, people. Do not, if you get the email asking you to reset your password, if you didn't initiate a password change, they are not asking you for it. It's not a legitimate one. I don't care how legitimate the email looks. Don't fall for that one.
Yeah.
While you guys were talking, I thought about something. I had the first time that I'd ever had in all the 8 years that I had in our house, I've never had to file a claim on anything. And last year or a year and a half ago, we had a water tank bust and just ruin the upstairs and downstairs below it and everything. So I had to file an insurance claim. Well, part of the process, they were like, "Well, this is your second claim that you filed." And I was like, no, I've never filed a claim before, and that was affecting my insurance rates, and I didn't even know because they had just just ran it and said, here's your rates. I never knew that they were showing a previous claim. And so I had to go through a whole big process about disputing that and having that removed, having that process. So there's another example where somebody can steal your identity and take advantage of you without you ever even knowing it. It's on the insurance side. So
it's so funny because most people don't realize that the insurance companies talk to each other.
Yeah.
Right. So
on the Clue report.
Absolutely. The Clue report is basically our back office to determining realistically is, especially when somebody's trying in the process of buying a house. That's something that I would always highly recommend to get with your realtor to be able to work with what agency they're working with and determine if they can pull up a report based on the address that they're actually inquiring about purchasing. Specifically, if you're going to put in a contract out, once you go through the option period, that's part of the due diligence that I would recommend highly at any point in time. Has there been any damages to that home 5 years prior? Because we can look that up.
Yeah. Jason, for you as a service, if we had our listeners out there listening and just wanted to double check their insurance history to see if anybody had ever stolen their insurance identity and filed a claim or anything like that, is that a service that you can offer? If they called you up, could you check that for them or point them to a right direction?
Absolutely. I mean, our office at the end of the day, our slogan and what I live by personally and professionally has always been that a friend will always be there for a friend, an acquaintance you can never count on. Allow me to be your friend. That is what we live by. My office is there.
Whether they're a client of yours or not, if they called you up, they could check out
all day long.
You could check them out.
They call my office, tell them, look, we're in the process of buying a house, or we live in this house, we just bought it. We just want to be able to see if there has been any previous claims because I bought this house not knowing, and I just want to have a peace of mind. Definitely, they call our office, give us the information that are needed. We'll look it up, and we'll basically send them a report.
Give them the number to call.
So the office number is 713-270-0073. Email address is, web address is Jason Jimenez, Jimenez, insurance.com. And you can definitely just send us some information. We'll help you out.
We want to do the same thing for.
Just memorized.
We're coming. We got 2 minutes of the show, so I thought, rather than run out of time like we often do.
Yes, I was going to say we want to do the same thing for.
What would you want people to walk away from today, and how to contact you?
Okay, walk away today with understanding that we have a responsibility to teach our kids and keep our family safe. We let our kids go out. We give them access to Facebook. We give them cell phones. We give them access to the Internet. But we don't teach them anything about protecting that information. They should learn this at a young age because once their information is compromised, a lot of times the bad guys, they're looking at daycare centers and they're looking at newborns and they're stealing their Social Security numbers because before they turn 18, they don't have a credit report.
That's right.
And by the time they turn 18, sometimes their life is ruined. But for more information, again, safenextdoor.com.
Safenextdoor.com.
There's information about Legal Shield.
Ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. You definitely want to make sure that you're monitoring that credit and have a excellent protection system in place. Both of us highly recommend that service. Make sure you check that out.
If they want to send an email with questions, they can call Bruce at safenextdoor.com, Bruce at safenextdoor.com, and I'll answer any questions that they have. No problem.
And then just as far as the dealing with it, if you have been a victim of identity theft or if you are worried you might be, like one of the callers we had earlier that was seeing some different addresses on their report, call 713-936-0589. You can talk to a credit expert and get a free consultation. We'll be back next week. We are out of time, so until next week, we'll see you then.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank, he's Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, he's Dean. That's right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.